Today we're going to be going over FBSD UL Practice 2 Problem 6, which is break it up. This problem is not so simple, rather it's kind of tedious and involves a lot of cases, so let's just get into it. So first of all, we notice that there are 4 types of characters, that there are the quotes, there are delimiters, there are escape characters, and then there's just like all the other characters, which are just normal. As you can see, like 1, 2, 3, those are all normal characters. But then this pipe character is a delimiter, and the backslash over here is the escape character, and the quotes over here are just quotes. So there's a few rules you have to consider over here. So first of all, the first rule you must consider is that delimiters, these pipe characters over here, split things. Second of all, you must consider that these quotes, when like surrounding something, when surrounding a phrase, they basically nullify all the effects inside it. Except if there is a escape character, which is the third special character, then it will like nullify the effect of the character after and just print that character out instead. So like if you have 2 backslash characters, which is the escape character in this example, then it'll just print 1 backslash, like over here. Over here it's like backslash then a quote, it'll just print 1 quote. So that's basically the gist of the problem. And if you think about it, it's actually kind of simple, that they just give you a string with like a delimiter. As you can see, like they give you a string over here, and like they give you a delimiter and escape character, and you simply have to print out the fields that are separated by the delimiter. So to do this, we can parse through every single character of like each string. So for example, if we're looking at this string in the sample input, we can just go through A, then B, then C, then the delimiter would split this into field 1, then we go 1, 2, 3, then the delimiter splits into field 2, then D, E, F. And then since the string is ending, then of course it's just going to be field 3. So since this is kind of a tedious problem, I'm just going to get into the code and then show you a few specific cases we must account for while going over it. So excuse me, I'm going to cough for a second. Never mind, it went away. So, it came back. Alright, so here is my code. Basically, if you notice over here, it starts with just a simple scanner, which we use to parse the cases. So over here you have like the initial cases, which over here is just like 2. So it's just going to parse in 2, and then start looking through each case. So like after this for loop is just to like iterate through each case. Now over here, this num records just represents the number of records you have to parse through. So basically like this number 3 over here. And then the delimit, now we take the next line because there's going to be a space over here and a space over here, which means taking the next character can be a little bit hard to work with. So we just ignore that by taking the next line and then taking the delimiter as the first character, as like character 1, because this is character 0, then character 1 is over here. And then escape character is just character 3, as you can see over here. Now, after that, we want to iterate through each record because our plan is to like, for each record, iterate through every single character. So it's kind of iterating through 3 things. As you can see, there's 3 for loops. First of the iterate through each case, then iterate through each record in each case, then iterate through each character in each record. So over here, we set up a few variables to help us work with the next for loop. So first of all, the string record is just, of course, like the current record you're looking at. So in this case, ABC, delimiter, 1, 2, 3, delimiter, D, E, F. And then int field num, this is like the current field number you're on. So like if you print out over here field 1, this would mean like field num is equal to 1. Field 2, field num is equal to 2, and so on. This variable will help us keep track of like which field we're currently on. Now after that, we have the string cur field, which is just like, again, the current field we're looking at. So if we start parsing through these characters, then like obviously you want to like keep like a running total of the characters we've been through in this current field, and that's exactly what the string does. Now we have 3 booleans over here, which help us go through like a few cases. So in quotes basically means like, in quotes basically says if like the character you're looking at is in quotes or not. So like if it's in quotes, then like all of its effects, like for example, all the delimiter effects are going to be nullified, and so on and so forth. Now, next of all, this field complete will mean, like if the field is complete, then we can print this out. So like if the field is complete, then this will become true and we print this out. But if it's not, then we just continue going to the next character and adding on. So again, like if we go to this delimiter, the field complete variable will become true and we print this out. Now finally, the Boolean last. This is a very special case. Basically, it's saying like over here, if you have, let's say, some string, right, like this, but then you have a delimiter at the end over here. So this special case, so to deal with this special case, we have to include this Boolean last, because this case means that it would be like field 1 would just be like AWEF, field 2 would be also AWEF, field 3 would be AWEF, but then that's not it, because there would be a field 4, which is just going to be blank. So yeah, we must consider this special case, and that's why we have last. Basically, that means like if the last char is a delimiter that's like non-escape, so which means there's like no escape character before it, so it's not like this. If it's like this, then Boolean last will become true, and that'll go to a special case where we can print out another blank line. Now let's go through this big loop. This is the meat of the code, like where we are going to cover like exactly like how do we iterate through each character over here. So let's see. So this is like int k equals 0, k is less than record.length, k plus plus. This just means like you go through every single character in here. Now, as I said earlier, there are 4 types of distinct characters, so we have to have 4 cases in this. So the first case is if the character we're looking at is an escape character. That means that the next character must be printed normally, and that's the only implication, which means that we can basically just add the next character to our current field, like our current running string, and then just add 1 to k, because like the position we are going on can just, like the position we're looking at just increases by 1, since we can just simply skip a position. Like here's an example. So we have AWEF and then this and then AWEF. It would just be like AWEF / AWEF if slash is the escape character. And you see over here, like when you read this escape character over here, then you can just add the next one and then skip it, which is exactly what we do. We iterate k, so k plus plus, so then we look at this, we just add it to our current field, and then we keep going like normal. Now second of all is this case, if like this character is a quotation mark. So basically there's a simple Boolean to deal with this, basically if you're in quotes or not in quotes. So if you're in quotes, then the only thing that differs is like what the delimiter does, and that's why we'll have a case over here. Otherwise, in quotes and not in quotes are basically the exact same thing. There's no difference other than 4 delimiters. And by the way, don't forget that for like between every quote, there's going to be a delimiter. So like it could be like this, but there must be a delimiter between every quote and every like other, like every like new quote or like non-quoted string. So this kind of helps us a little bit. So by knowing this. So now next of all is the biggest case. If the current character is a delimiter, what do we do? Well, there's 3 statements over here that if you notice. So first of all, if you're in quotes, then obviously like the delimiter is not going to be doing anything. So you just add the delimiter to the current field, like the running total. Like over here, if you see this, you're like AWEF, and you come to this, but then you just keep adding that and then keep going. So the first string over here, like the first field would be just AWEF pipe WAF. Now, next of all, if you're not in quotes, that means that like the field is complete, right? That you want to print this field out, which means that we have to set this Boolean field complete as true, because as said earlier, this checks if like the current field needs more updates, and if it doesn't, it just prints the field out. Now finally is this special case. If k equals record.length minus 1 last is equal to truth. So what did this mean? Again, it goes to this case back here where there's a delimiter at the very end, which means that if there's a delimiter here that is not covered by that is not preceded by the escape character, which we already covered in this case, then there's going to be another empty thing, like another empty field at the end, like shown over here. And that's why we have this Boolean last. So it's turned true if the character is a non-escape delimiter. Now finally, this last else statement over here is just like if the current character we're looking at is just a normal character, so it does like absolutely nothing. So like a letter, a number, any of that. If it's not like a delimiter or an escape character or a quotation mark. Now, after we go through these cases, we have to check if if the field is complete, because if it's complete, then we want to print it out and then like restart our current field. Like our current field go back to nothing because we already printed out, let's say like over here, we already printed out ABC. So then when you go over here, you start back in nothing. So before that, actually, we have to look at one more thing. It says over here, if k equals record.length minus 1, then field complete is equal to true. This basically means that after we go through the last character, then the field will be complete no matter what. Like let's say the string is like AWEF, delimiter AWEF. However, if we don't go through this last character, then we're just like not gonna add this as a field. We're not gonna print it out. So we have to set this field complete is equal to true so we can print this last part out. Now finally, this is the final big part. If field complete is equal to true. So first of all, you want to set field complete is back equal to false. So like for the next iteration, because after you complete a field, before you start the new field, like obviously the field's not going to be complete. Now next of all, this is checking if the current field is empty, because if it's empty, then we have to print out this blank statement. So this is just a simple if statement to check that. And then else you just print out the record, which is, as we have this loop over here, we can keep track of the number of records, and then we have the number of fields as stated in this earlier variable, and then finally we just have the current field. And then because of that, we have to add 1 to the field number, because like the number field obviously increases by 1, and then reset the current field because again we finished dealing with it and we need to reset it. So that's the brunt of it, and we need one more thing to cover, like one more special case. Basically, go back to last. I mentioned it a few times, and now this is where we finally check if last is true. So if last is true, then we want to print out this blank thing, because obviously like there's going to be a blank thing at the end, or like such as in this case, as you see field 4 is blank because there's a delimiter at the end. So this is just the statement that checks that. And also if record.length is equal to 0, because there can in fact be empty records, which means that this entire loop is bypassed. Yet you still need to print out that like nothing, like there's no fields, which means you have to go to this final statement. So in essence, this code covers all the small cases, everything you need to know about this problem. So thank you for listening and have fun coding.